McCorry's through, he might go for it, still going, trying to barge his way through, goes to the shot, what a goal!
Arriving, Rian O'Neill from an almost impossible angle, and that's the rousing score Armagh were looking for.
Conor Turbin kicks this one in. Oh, that's absolutely superb.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. You're very welcome to our review show, and we're looking back at a historic victory for Armagh over Roscommon, 2-12 to 0-12 on Saturday evening. I'm delighted to be joined by Jim McCorry, and we're going to look back at all the ins and outs of the game and maybe look forward a wee bit to the last four clash. And I suppose we'll start there, Jim. Armagh in the All-Ireland semi-final against Kerry in a couple of weeks' time. How does that sound for you?
Oh, it sounds great. You know, it's as everybody's been saying all along, it's been a while since we've been there. So, and we've been so close on so many occasions. You know, to not be there after extra time and penalties has always been a real kick in the teeth, especially for the players and management and everybody directly involved. The backroom team, you know, for so much hard work. So, and just shows you know, how close they have been. You know, people keep saying about, you know, all these teams moving on and Armagh not moving on. I mean, it was a kick of a ball away, literally a kick of the ball away in terms of a penalty, you know, and not being in the semi-final before now. So I think it's well deserved and not out of time as well, Sean.
And I think, Jim, because there's been so much heartache and near misses and big chances, Ulster finals, quarterfinals, all penalties and all the heartache, of course, the league final earlier this year and everything, I think that just makes Saturday's victory that wee bit more sweeter, that wee bit more meaningful, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you consider even the bigger heartache that Kieran had, you know, just found out that his uncle had passed away and a very close family, you know, and had to deal with that heartache, puts all that rest of the heartache in the shadows, doesn't it? You know, but you're right, you know, the heartache that's been there, you know, the nearlies, and you sort of wonder as a player when you're there, and you wonder as a manager, you know, is this going to be the year? Is it going to happen? You know, and as I keep saying, you know, there's been very little difference between teams at this level when you get through, and we've seen the massive improvement in Louth, we've seen the massive improvement, you know, with Cork this year, you know, and a lot of teams are starting to catch up in the touching sort of section into the lower or the bottom of the best group of teams. But you can see that gap at the top now really closing as well. And of course, Derry got beat. To be honest with you, I mean, I thought Derry or Dublin, not because Dublin got beat, but you know, I thought Dublin, you could see signs that things were not going as well as what it had been for them. You know, their aging squad, the bench wasn't as big a factor for them. So you can see that gap was closing there, and Kerry haven't been kicking on in full cylinders this last while back as well. So there's great opportunities, you know, for teams to move on this year. But, you know, obviously taking one game at a time, we got through that very difficult game against Roscommon and now in the semi-final against Kerry in 2 weeks' time. And everybody's delighted with that. And a lot of people from outside of the county as well have been saying just how pleased that they are to see Armagh are breaking through into that semi-final stage and love to see them going on. So hopefully that'll be the case.
And Jim, I suppose the game itself probably wasn't as entertaining as certainly some of the other games Armagh have been involved in the last couple of years. And I know I think everybody in the county don't really care as long as Armagh get through it. But I suppose the conditions and everything, you had to take them into account, and just people slipping, balls slipping out of the hands and everything else that come with conditions. It was probably a difficult watch for the neutral.
Yeah, you know, you look at Armagh over the years where they've played really well in games and lost, and people's been talking about that, you know, and okay, they weren't up to best, Kieran said as well, you know, the players themselves and management were disappointed that they didn't play to their best, but they played well enough to beat Roscommon, and it was very, very bad conditions for both. You know, I know it improved later on for the second game. You know, they're saying just about how the commentators said the difference in the two pitches, but you could sort of see a lot of turnover ball that both teams would have maybe held on to previously. You've maybe seen scoring opportunities taken that were missed, because there was quite a lot of missed opportunities, particularly, you know, with Roscommon for this one. So difficult conditions yet, but yes, but absolutely. a win was all that was important. I mean, if it went the extra time and penalties, I'd have took it. It was just everybody just wanted to see that through. And when you've got through to the semi-final and you haven't played well, I mean, that's going to give a lot of ammunition for players themselves, within the management team, within the leaders group, to kick on. And you can say, well, of course, Kerry's in the same boat. Everybody's saying about how poor Kerry were compared to their normal standards, and they're going to come out next time and try and prove a point. Well, Armagh know they can give a lot more than what they did, but the main thing was they gave enough to get through that one. And the old adage, goal wins games, Sean. There's 2 goals was the difference in the end.
And yeah, you mentioned, Jim, just about the shots that Roscommon had missed, and they put a lot wide, obviously, but short as well. And I suppose a lot of that was down to the Armagh pressure, because just thinking of a few men, I think Rain was one, TK, just diving on blocks, and maybe not getting the block, but certainly just putting enough pressure to maybe, make the Roscommon man skew the shot or whatever. I think Armagh's defensive structure and everything deserves a lot of credit for. Obviously, we talked about the conditions and all, but Roscommon's forward line has been doing really well as well. Obviously beating Tyrone a couple of weeks ago, so Armagh's defence really come up trumps.
Yeah, I mean, it's important, that the recognition is given for a team defence. I mean, it wasn't defenders; it was a team defence right throughout. And when you see the work that Grugan gets through defense, okay, maybe he wasn't on the ball as much in the scoring end of it yesterday, but he was still creating. The one he broke through for Barry over the top was superb. You take the work that Rain was doing. He was like a madman, chasing tackles, closing down, putting pressure on. And I mean, I don't think their defensive structure has changed an awful lot in this last while, but you can see that they're a lot better at what they're doing. And you can see whenever the man has the ball that they're putting that pressure on, they're double teaming. The hunting in 2s and 3s to get that turnover and to move the ball, and conditions like that is going to happen. But when you take those shots, the Roscommon at 6 short. What it had, they scored 8 from play, and Armagh scored 2-10 from play, which was really, really good. But if you take, Paddy's one that he should have had a goal from, you take Barry's first attempt that was cleared off the line, we could have had a goal from as well. And if those 2 had went in, and you were looking at 4-12 and saying about a route, which really wouldn't have been the case. So the ones that were missed by Roscommon, the ones that dropped short, all of those were put under pressure, and you can say some of them were forced into bad shooting options. Some of them were forced shots under pressure, and they weren't getting the clean opportunities that Armagh. I thought Armagh's opportunities were a lot more clean. They were better on the break. They opened them up more in the space to do that. Roscommon didn't have the same space. They were having the same timing to take those shots, and that was the big difference on the day. So that's down to team defence, where you see like some Murnan back working hard, Rory Grugan, even Turbo, the time, way back, when I was talking to Turbo about the offensive, his game is superb, great attacker, great scorer, but you've got to get that work rate, throughout, and he's doing tremendous when you consider the tackle that he put in to win the ball and then put the ball away himself, and then that is very, very impressive stuff. So delighted, and that's down to, I don't know if it's Colin Gilligan's input this year, along with what the rest of the coaches have been doing. But certainly you can see remnants of what Kilcoo were doing under Conleth when he was there. He's a fantastic coach. And maybe that added fresh face coming in, working with Kieran McKeever as well, and Kieran McGinney at the defensive end is coming to fruition now.
When we're talking about that, Jim, we're talking about team defence and everybody working. You have some of your forwards working back and getting tackles, and you have your defenders coming up and scoring goals. And we'll have to give Barry McCambridge massive credit to finish. He got man of the match. He got GA goals man of the match. He got 1-2 on the goal. Was any forward would have been proud of it?
Oh, absolutely. And he wouldn't be renowned for going up and scoring goals, and he's probably disappointed he didn't get 2-2 for the one that was cleared off the line. He did brilliant to get in there as well for that. Fantastic engine. He talked about the text he got from Kieran Donaghy, to say about the special suit. His engine is amazing up and down that field. I know they're in great shape, and you can see the condition that the guys have done. But his work rate through, I'd love to see what his GPS unit was. It must have been off the charts for the amount of mileage that he covered, but also, the amount of power runs that he made during the game. and he deserves tremendous credit. And again, when you hear his interview afterwards as well, Sean, unassuming, talking about the team, great, but there was no showboating, there was no all about you. It was about the team, and they've got that one over them. They'll get themselves recovered and get ready for the next one. We shows a humility there with him as well. Great fella. Great to see, and thoroughly deserved the light for him. And not because I'm from Lurgan. I'm not going to join in that. The people these scores came from Lurgan players and Portadown, and one from out in Mahry direction as well. As everybody will say, it doesn't matter where they come from. As long as they're going over the bar in the net from an Armagh player, we take them no matter where it's from.
Well, I was actually going to ask you about that, Jim. Given the part of the world you come from, we had Cambridge and Turbo getting the goals, with Kennedy hitting 4, with Soupy coming off the bench hitting 2. It was the talk about Lurgan champagne. It was champagne football from the Lurgan boys.
Oh, absolutely. None of the South Lurgan champagne jokes, we've heard them all before as well. And you had Ferguson as well. That's another North Armagh one, but as some people are confident, there's games you go through and there wouldn't be a North Armagh one will score and South Armagh will do all the scoring. And, as I said, it doesn't matter where they come from. Delighted just to see them going in. And if Paddy Burns had stuck his in, it wouldn't have been a South Armagh score. Of course, it would have been a South Down score because he's a Burn man now as well, so we can't even credit him with that one. But that one in. And it's great to see Paddy back. I have to say, it's worked great for that team. His man marking, his reading of the game, he was absolutely superb. And you see the likes of Grimley coming back, from a horrific injury. It's great to see those boys that have been carrying long-term injuries. Oisin as well. Oisin coming back in. Injuries in your, season defining alone. That alone would be, the rest of your sport and life defining. That could be that bad. But to see Big Grimley coming back, and the scores he take and the catch and the one that he caught them over the line, those are really fantastic. Fantastic skills to see. And as I say, you see Oisin coming on as part of that really strong bench that we have now. Being, a bit of a Kenny of Armagh, maybe he's like a sort of midfield general there, or centre-half forward general, sort of controlling the game, never waste the ball. He can take a score as good as anybody else in that team, but never waste the ball, always sets up play, always working hard for the team as well. So great to see them coming back. And the guys who are coming in, Sean, and this is a big factor that you can see in that Armagh team, it doesn't matter where you play. There's guys that won around this year, with Cullyhanna, and you see Alexi Nugent coming on, it's McQuillan, it's great. Those guys are who would have been starters in previous team coming on and doing the job. And yes, obviously disappointed maybe they're not in the starting end. That should be probably more so than most deserves this place. But the impact they're making when they come in and the pace they bring the game to, that's been the defining difference this year for me in the team. Other than that aspect, we talked about that defensive, everybody working together, and McKay as well, and fullback has been outstanding this year. He had a really bad time with COVID, lost loads of weight, and his form dropped considerably, obviously with the physical impact of that. He's now looks stronger again. He's reading the game. He takes no shit from any other player, controlling there. So those are all big positives, and they need all those players to try and move on this next game in semi-final.
Yeah, Jim, I think the squad depth is something that, we've spoke about a lot on this podcast this year, but just injuries have been decent this year compared to other years. I know Kieran Mackin and Conor O'Neill, obviously 2 big misses, especially coming in against Kerry. Maybe had down maybe his man markers too around the middle and for Paddy Clifford and that, but more or less it's been the same team, the same players all year, and there hasn't been that many injuries, which is a major boost for Armagh. They haven't been used to having so few injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a massive factor that you have your full squad of players available, and you have players of the quality, the ones that I said coming in to finish out a game. Like Soupy came on at half time. And again, that was a good management decision, taking McGrain off and putting Soupy in to drive forward from there, from defence, that we bit of reshuffle. And let's face it, the modern game, you can say, cornerback and Soupy's a half forward, or you've got Merlin full forward. modern game, they're all over the place, aren't they? I mean, there's no, other than your keeper, and even then with sweeper keeper, is there any position sacrosanct at all now? And we referenced it earlier, defenders going up, and some defenders maybe score more than forwards in their teams throughout the year. So it's tremendous to see, that big impact that the bench has made. And management must be given credit for that, and Kerry must be given credit, because people are very, very quick, to lambast him and let's get changed, and he hasn't won in all this time. But the amount of development work that he's been doing in the background, you can see those younger players coming through as well, that there's still more to come next year. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for the panel of players they have. And yes, you can say you have to have a wee bit of luck for the injuries, that you don't have major injuries and you need everybody available. And that's been the big difference here, along with the way they are playing defensively, and how active they are defensively, and keep they are defensively well, and having this passive shape that really has very little effect.
You mentioned a few of the younger players coming through. Obviously, there's an All-Ireland minor final coming up this weekend as well, an All-Ireland semi-final in a couple of weeks to look forward to. The Camogues are in the quarter-final of the All-Ireland. The ladies are in the quarter-final of the All-Ireland. It's exciting times just to be an all-round Armagh football fan and Camogie fan as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's tremendous. And I think people have to give credit to all the ones who've been doing the work with the underage teams. And a lot of times maybe where I've won at club level going in, and people say about, coming in and the cups you win and the leagues or championships or whatever. But people got to realise that, for teams to win at senior level, there has to be an awful lot of work done at underage for players going through. And I don't think there's enough credit given to that. And you can see the work that's been done within Armagh. I think it was the last time, maybe, was it when Barry and Diarmid and Oisin and those guys, was that the last time the All-Ireland? I can't remember much.
It was actually 09, Jim, was the
Oh yes, yeah, that's right. So when you take, the group of players that can come through, I mean, that group that I referred to, the Oceans and the Dearmers, those ones at that time in the early 90s, and then you take these ones coming through now, it also goes well for the future. There's no doubt about that. And as I say, a lot of people deserve credit in the coaching academy and working with underage players and the underage teams going through the county at club level as well, feeding into to the coaching academy. So it's great to see.
And Jim, just before I let you go, I'll have to ask you about the semi-final. I had Brendan Devaney on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he sort of made the point that he thought Armagh could get the semi-final, and once you're there, anything can happen. And I think, given Kerry's performance against Derry, would maybe lift Armagh's hopes a wee bit that they can go and certainly give a good account of themselves. I suppose I'll leave it at this. How do you see that faring out? Do you see Armagh getting one over Kerry, or how do you see it all going?
I think one of the factors that is really for Armagh is playing in Croke Park. The big open pitch really suits their style of play. Fantastic on the turnover. I think Kerry still are really struggling with a more packed defence and an active, organised defence that does put pressure on the ball carrier, that does get turnovers and hits them on breaks. And for all this talk about, you don't see the Kerry and the Dublins of this world setting up defensively as the Donegals or the Derrys or the Armaghs. They see them. And I just think this year, Armagh have got it right in terms of what they've been doing. Derry weren't right and had a wee sort of lull for a couple of games, and you see them nearly back to their best again. But playing in Croke Park and how Kerry can try and break us down defensively is going to be difficult. See how it was for a really good forward line of Roscommon. They had great difficulties doing that. I think Kerry will have the same difficulties, and I think there's a really good opportunity in this game, utilising that space in Croke Park and making sure that they really do have that strong bench coming in at the right time. And I mean, that's been the pattern. So I don't see any reason why that would need to change now.
Yeah, we're definitely all looking forward to it, and it's a big 2-week build up to it. And obviously, as I mentioned, the Camogues and the ladies are in All-Ireland quarterfinals this weekend, and the All-Ireland minor football final is on this weekend as well. So best of luck to all them teams, and we'll be back next week as well, of course. We'll have our club roundup show, and we'll have hopefully a preview for the All-Ireland semi-final against Kerry. So Jim, thanks very much for joining us. Great to hear your thoughts, and I'll get talking to you hopefully again.
Best of luck to all the teams, John. Cheers.
McCorry's through, he might go for it, still going, trying to barge his way through, goes to the shot, what a goal!
Arriving Rian O'Neill from an almost impossible angle, and that's the rousing score Armagh were looking for.
Connor Turbin kicks this one in. Oh, that's absolutely superb.